Hello. Doing pretty good.
Doing good. Welcome back to Entering Operations. This is our third episode. We will be covering Explosive Conflict today. Everybody's favorite meme lord, edgelord Kephess is going to be our big bag focus today. Um, but thank you everybody for showing up. We're going to be doing hard mode, and then we're going to be going into nightmare. Yes, the Kephess modes, indeed. So we're going to start off with explaining hard mode, and then we're going to use that. We're going to use that building block and move into nightmare. As always, anyone in the chat, you are more than welcome to ask questions regarding any of our experts that are here in chat today. And let me just go ahead and once again introduce our experts today. We have Audria. Audria is my resident shadow slash assassin expert. If you have any shadow questions or assassin questions, this is the gentleman to talk to. Hi, Audria. How are you today?
Hello.
Hello. And then we have Kogus. Kogus is my resident Juggernaut Guardian DPS expert. You may know him. He also streams at twitch.tv/Kogass underscore. Kogus is awesome. Uh, he's been helping us out, and he's been playing Juggernaut for how many years now? How many years have you been playing Yuggy, Kagi? Is your mic not
Awkward
working?
silence.
The silence.
It's
Ugh.
probably
Anyway, Kagi is also a BioWare influencer. So if you have any questions regarding Star Wars: The Old Republic, especially when it comes to Juggernaut slash Guardian tanking or DPSing, Kagi is the person to ask as soon as he gets his mic working again. And then for our Merc slash Mando healer expert, we have Mandria slash Groovy. How are you doing today?
pretty good. Pretty
Pretty
good.
good. Pretty good.
Yep. Yep.
Awesome. So if you have any questions regarding Merc or Commando healers, this is the gent to ask. Following up with Merc slash Commando, we have Splizza. He is our resident Merc Commando DPS. So if you have questions about IO, Arsenal, Gunnery, or Assault Specialist, this is the gentleman to ask. Splizza, how are you doing today? If we can. Oh no, no more mic issues. You there, Splizz?
Another AFK person.
Another AFK. Oh, feels bad. Splizza is also the GM of Paramount Gaming on Imperial Satil Shan. Uh, uh, quickly though, hi Kagi, how are you doing?
Hey.
Welcome back. How long have you been playing Juggernaut, by the way?
Since launch, this is actually my very first original tune.
Nice, nice. Well, welcome. Um, for operative slash scoundrel healing, we have Tom. Hi, Tom. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
Pretty good. Thank you very much. So Tom is a operative slash scoundrel healer expert. So if you have any questions regarding medicine or sawbones, this is the gentleman to ask. Then we have Wondershun. Hello, Guten Tag. How are you doing?
Hello. I'm doing great.
Good. Wonder is our Sork slash Sage healer expert. So if you have any questions regarding corruption slash seer, this is the gent to talk to. Since launch, not lunch. And then currently, right now, we have Zab. Zab is probably one of the best lightning Sork slash telekinetic sages I have ever had the pleasure of playing with. How are you doing today, Zab?
I'm doing good. I just forgot 30 minutes ago.
That's the best thing. And then I'm Lady
Yeah.
Ran. I main sniper slash gunslinger. So I will be talking about gunslingers and snipers today. But without further ado, we will also have some more experts coming in later, especially regarding tanking. Our tanking expert today, as always, is our lovely host, Bishop SM. He is currently at work, but he will be here in about an hour. So he is probably the best tank on the Satil Shan server. No lie. Um, so definitely ask him all questions regarding tanking. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started with Explosive Conflict, otherwise known as EC. EC can be found, the starting point for the story mission can be found by this lovely little droid, N4S4, which is located on the Ziost Shadow for Imperial Fleet. On the Republic fleet, he is located on the Gav Dargon next to the Karagas Palace droid. So if you can see where I am right now, so this is where I am right now. Where am I? Here I am. Here I am. So this is where I am located. This is where the droid is located on the Gav or on the Xyos Shadow, but the entrance to Explosive Conflict is at the very bottom because that makes all of the sense ever. I have unfortunately already finished the story mission on this character, but this is where you will pick up the story mission, and then he will give you a mission to talk to another droid inside the instance. So Explosive Conflict is the third operation in Star Wars: The Old Republic. It focuses primarily in Denova, which is also a war zone. So if you have ever done the Denova war zone, it's the exact same planet. So the location for Explosive Conflict is right here, located here at the very bottom of the Xyos Shadow. And we're going to just go ahead and get started. So most groups, there is a whole bunch of trash between the entrance, as most raids have, and the first boss. 99% of the time, if you have a stealther in your group, they're going to go ahead and stealth from the entrance of the raid to the first boss, and then there's going to be a speeder that populates at the very beginning, and most people just take that. So otherwise, it's a lot of trash. Nothing special about the trash. This is the gentleman you would talk to, or the droid you would talk to after picking up the outside mission. So this is how you will continue your story mission for Explosive Conflict and learning out why all of a sudden the Trandoshan Kephess has gone from slightly crazy to just completely insane. That is the storyline behind Explosive Conflict. For some reason, Kephess, the leader of the Trandoshans on Denova, has gone crazy. We don't know why. There have been defections on both the Republic and the Imperial side, and nobody can explain
Captain
why.
Merrill, welcome to the fight. I'll be coordinating your movements.
Little
with
bit
the
of
main assault
spoilers.
on
Yes,
Kephess's
just a
camp.
little bit. So, as you can see, this is where you... I know. This is where you would go to start if you did not have a stealther in your group. As you can see, there's a whole bunch of trash right here. But since the speeder is already up, we're just going to go ahead and take the speeder. And just hop, skip, and a jump over to the first boss, which is Zorn and Toth. How is everybody in chat doing today? Happy Saturday! Alright, so the first boss of Explosive Conflict is Zorn and Toth. These are twin drooks. Each have their own special mechanic that in story mode, hard mode, and nightmare. My shoulder is feeling much better. Thank you so very much for asking. So we're going to start with healers. We're going to talk a little bit about, we're going to start with my healers. We're going to talk about mechanics that any of the healers need to be aware of coming into Zorn and Toth. We're going to talk about story mode and how it's built up in hard mode. And then when we go into nightmare, we'll build up even more in that. All right, so Wonder, Kruvy, and Tom, talk to me a little bit about healing Zorn and Toth. Is there anything specifically in hard mode that healers need to be aware of?
I'll let Tom go first.
The most important thing you need to know is what your tanks are doing. How they're doing swaps, if they're doing swaps. If they're not doing swaps, you need to be mindful of whenever Toth jumps and Fearful goes out to the tank that is holding Zorn, because that tank is going to literally take a lot of damage. You have to be like, with me as an operative healer, I have to prep them with nanotech, I need to prep them with probes, and then I need to help burst heal them with infusion as Toth is jumping, and then injection afterwards to make sure they're topped up, because they aren't allowed to hit Zorn at that time because of Fearful. They also can't maintain their internal defenses, like Sin tanks can't maintain their 4 stacks of damage reduction, PTs can't necessarily maintain all of their internal defenses, things of the sort.
So you would say, so my healers, you would say that spike damage is really big in this fight, correct?
Yes, especially if you get ranged DPS that lag and get hit with a red spike.
Oh, that
Groovy.
healed me.
Groovy, talk to me a little bit about how Merculars can excel in this fight. Oh, Groovy just bounced out. So Wonder, let's go ahead and move over to Sork Sages. Talk to me a little bit about what Sork and Sages here in Zorn and Toth need to be on the lookout for.
So, just in general, the melee is going to take a lot more damage than the ranged. And since your AoE heals aren't nearly as good, just try to keep up revivification on like the ranged, not the ranged, the melee and the tank on that side.
Okay,
Except
so
for Sets.
revivification. What about bubbles? Are bubbles really good for this fight?
Also, bubble, mainly the tanks and the melee DPS as well. You won't get much use from the ranged.
Okay, so in most cases, especially in hard mode and in Nightmare, it would be best to put the Sork healer on Toth rather than Zorn, correct?
Correct.
Alright, awesome. So, now that we've covered Sork, Sages, and Scoundrels and Operatives, Groovy, talk to me a little bit about Mercs. How can Mercs excel in this fight?
There's actually a lot Mercs can do. Me personally, like, I usually end up stacking behind Toth with the melee DPS. It gives me a pretty good like vantage point for like my group, my side of the frame. Also, the opposite tank on the other side. You don't get knocked back by like Toth's jump cleave bullshit that he does. And also there's going to be red circles that form underneath the people's feet, and you're going to see giant like rock spires fly out of the ground. That is actually a reflect that a merc, a jug, not sure about operative, never tried to reflect on an operative.
Can, but you might die.
Yeah, you probably not.
And power techs.
So, like, I usually end up trying to reflect that. So, whenever I do groups, I usually try to tell the melee to, like, stack on. And then when we see the first red circle that goes out, I have time to get usually 3 red circles if I'm good enough. And that's huge damage on Toth. Like, it is absolutely gigantic damage if you can get, like, 3 reflects off of that. Especially if you have 2 jugs. Because apparently every group I run with loves playing jugs. So, that's a cool
There's
thing.
nothing wrong with playing with jugs.
Oh, baby.
I'm not saying there is. Saying. It seems like the flavor of the year. But, I usually try to end up keeping cultist shells on people. There's just a lot of like passive damage going out. There are cleanses that all the healers have to get. The debuff that is applied to the DPS will actually make their DPS go down. So I do take supercharge reserves for that, just to get a faster cleanse, just in case I gotta get a few more out. Aside from that, if you play Merc, try to get the red circles. Aside from that, that's pretty much it.
Awesome.
Just heal.
Just heal. Awesome. Thank you so very much. Thank you, healers. I appreciate that. So a couple of the mechanics that we're talking about here for Zorn and Toth is... So, the whole basis, the whole starting point and strategy of Zorn and Toth is that we need to keep them separate. Because in all difficulties, Zorn and Toth will hit harder, do more damage when they're closer together. So that's why you have, as you can see, my UI or my raid group is set up so that way I've got, a flashpoint group, a tank, 2 DPS, and a healer in each side. So the right side is going to be on Toth, which are my melee, and the right side is going to be on Zorn, which are my ranged. So Zorn does an ability called Fearful, which is an AoE. So anyone that is within 30 meters of Zorn will get this debuff called Fearful, which means... Oh, not 30 meters on hard mode. I'm sorry. 25 in hard mode, 30 in nightmare. That will...
It's 27 in Nightmare.
Oh, 27 in nightmare. There's a reason I was a communication major. Math is hard. But, anyway, Fearful debuff. You will reflect any damage that you do onto Zorn if you have that debuff, which is why you have the ranged on Zorn. There's nothing you can do. It can't be cleansed. You just have to avoid it. You just have to be out of the range of the AoE and move out. Then the Then Toth will do a jump, which it is a very, very specific number, that is correct. Toth has a jump that will have a yellow circle that appears under one player, and we usually have, jumps at 90%, 70%, 50%, 30%, and 10%. You want to bring that yellow, and it triggers the Fearful. So when that happens, that's when you know Fearful's coming out. If you have that yellow circle, you want to bring it back to Toth. Wait for the circle to drop underneath the player's feet, and then the player moves out of the way. There are red circles, about, I would say about 50% usually is when they start triggering, is about 50% for the red circles from Zorn.
It's like
60%. There's going to be red circles that appear that are going to have massive spikes coming out of the ground. If you are a sniper, you can entrench and evasion, but most of the time, it's typically good practice just to move out of the circle. You just have to take a couple of steps away and then move out. If you're a lightning stork, just move out. Just move out. Especially if you're not confident, if your health is low, it's just good practice to move out of the red circles. So now that we've gone over a little bit of the mechanics, and we're going to show you those mechanics in action, tanks. Talk to me a little bit about tank mechanics here for Zorn and Toth. Kagi, why don't you start us off?
Right, well, I will be tanking Mr. Zorn on the left side. The big thing with these two is just ensuring that the tanks have a good position on him. And depending on the strategy, I'm used to just the tank holding the boss that they have. So when Toth jumps to Zorn, I end up just taunting Zorn again and not attacking him until my Fear 4 debuff goes away. And that's about it. When he does his big scream, just make sure he's facing a wall and it's not hitting anybody, because it just hits. It's a straight line that hits people.
Okay,
So even
the tank on Zorn needs to be careful of the Fearful debuff. But as long as you're going through your threat generation rotation prior to the Fearful, you should be fine. And
absolutely.
And then and there is an option of swapping. However, if you're not confident as a tank, I would not recommend swapping right now. If you're not confident, don't do it.
Well, to add to that, I would do swaps if your team has poor healers.
Okay.
Because the tank will be on Zorn. If healers can't keep up, they will most definitely die. Because
that
the
is
damage
a good
is
point.
really high, and if the healers are not up to notch, they'll die. Which, making a tank swap, it might be harder mechanically wise, but it'll be far easier on the healers.
So, just to reiterate, if you are not confident to swap as a tank, however, then don't. But if you feel like you need to help your healers as a tank, then swap. As with every single raid team, it's just imperative that you know the strengths and weaknesses of your team and adjust the strategy from there. Zab, talk to me a little bit about assassin tanking here. Is there anything in particular that assassin tanks can do to be successful in Zorn and Toth?
Oh yes. Well, mostly if we're doing, depending on the strat you're doing, if we're not doing tank swaps, you want to assassin on Toth. Because Zorn's attacks cannot be shielded, making assassins rather weak because they rely on shielding very much. And you cannot also parry or deflect, meaning the deflection doesn't do anything. So you want to be on Zorn. So most of the damage you're gonna take on Toth is gonna be from the leap he does. He will jump, and then once he lands, he will do a really big AoE damage. Ideally, you want to force speed that with the Face and Phantasm mentality, or you can shroud it. Either way, whichever you have available. And basically just rotating your DCDs. If you see that you're taking a lot of damage, or if you see that the group is taking a lot of damage, then you just pop something to help the healer.
Okay, awesome. So, just to reiterate, you want to have your assassin/shadow tanks on Toth because shadows and assassins rely very heavily on shield, and Zorn cannot be shielded. So, if you have a power tech/vanguard or a juggernaut/guardian tank, you want them on Zorn. So let's talk a little bit about DPS, melee. So Audria, tell me a little bit about how assassins and shadow DPS, just melee DPS in general, can be successful on Torn and Zoth.
Torn and Zoth.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, you want to make sure that you're standing behind Toth and also far enough away from Zorn that you never get the fearful debuff when he jumps, because that's not nice. Even if you, because there's sometimes you might, like, while Toth is while he's berserk, he has a significant damage reduction debuff, so a lot of the time I will go and hit Zorn during that time, and if I have fearful, that doesn't work. Also, the dot that goes out from Zorn is about that same distance, so as long as you stay close to Toth and far away from Zorn, you won't get that, so that's less work the healers need to do. That's general positioning for melee, but specifically for shadows and assassins, you absolutely want phasing Phantasm, because you can use force speed for every single time that Toth jumps to vastly reduce the damage you take.
So that's the win more button then.
Yeah, exactly. It's the push this button, take no damage. It's amazing.
So, Splizza, let's talk a little bit about range DPS for Zorn. I've covered a little bit about positioning, especially why we want the ranged on Zorn, but do you have any other specific, even if it's just Merc specific, do you have any other recommendations for range DPS on Zorn?
Well, I mean, again, it's all about positioning. Like, for me, I like to always keep as a Merc or a Sork, well, not Lightning, but, 29 meters, everything that I do in the fight revolves around me keeping that 29 meter distance. And, I think Ruby already mentioned it, but, using Reflect in the proper places. If you use Reflect on the very first set of red circles, if you can manage to stack with your other range and get 2 of them, as long as the timing works out, they're not too spread apart. And if you use it on the very first set, you should be able to squeeze another one in towards the end of the fight, I believe. At least that's how the timing was working out with 248s, with 258s. It might push too fast. I haven't done this in a while. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Whatever your class is, your goal is to keep your distance from Zorn and not be in range of Toth's knockback. And for any person, once we get to Nim, obviously that's a Nim thing, but the biggest thing with this fight is don't forget your med pack.
Don't forget the med pack, indeed.
Nightmare mechanic.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that more once we actually go into Nightmare later on today. But thank you, Splizza. For snipers and gunslingers, we kind of have a little bit of a win more when it comes to DPSing. I typically like to run Virulence / Dirty Fighting on this fight. Just because the sustained is just so much better than, engineering / Sabo or marksman / sharpshooter. One of the things that is really good for us is entrench / hunker down. Basically, whenever the red circles pop up, we just hit hunker down / entrench, throw up evasion, and we just keep going. That's it. That's all it is. And with having the 30 to 35 meter ranges is super good for avoiding the fearful debuff. So snipers have a pretty easy time here in Zorn and Toth. Lightning Sorks have that range as well, which is good, but they're a little bit more mobile than us snipers. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go ahead and pull for Zorn and Toth. We're going to explain the mechanics as we go through it. Hi, everyone in chat. So good to see everybody. Hope you guys are enjoying so far. And again, chat, feel free to ask any sort of questions. If you have expert / questions, or if you have raid-related questions, please feel free to ask in chat, and we will answer them. And Zab, you ready, hon?
Yeah.
Alrighty then. So we're going to go ahead and pull on the tanks.
3, 2.
So as you can see, as the sniper, I am sitting 31.22 meters back. And so is Splizza.
Jump. Or he should.
So that scream, that is the fearful, and then the jump. So as you can see, we're keeping everyone separate. You've got the melee over here with Zorn, or with Toth, sorry. Us Rangers staying as far back as we can. And if the tank... So there's a Berserk from Toth. So for ranged, if the tank ends up adjusting or moving Zorn at all, definitely adjust with the tank. So as you can see, I was within the range of the fearful debuff, but with this, I have moved and up.
No!
See, that's what happens when
That's fearful.
that is what happens when fearful hits. That was even with dots. So you do definitely have to be exceptionally careful. Let's go ahead and get a res up on one of the DPS, doesn't matter. Yep, exactly. So
Is Tom? Okay.
hey everybody, how are we doing? Hi
Yeah, I'm just having
Fen,
to wait for
hi
those.
Muscle Man, hey Cheryl, hey Chibi.
And then
You're not gonna be able to do it during this.
No, it's okay, that's fine. You know what, this allows me to talk through the fight. No, I see how it is, guys. Raid leader doesn't get the res, feels bad, man. So as you can see, do you see where these spikes are heading? So there was a big red circle on the ground, followed by the spike. So the big red circle with the spike is just, get out. If it's red, you're dead. Looks like Tom is attempting a stealth res. And the stealth res went off without a hitch. Great job, Tom. So, but I'm once back again in combat, so again, if you see that the tanks are adjusting or moving, adjust with your tanks.
Can I grab a guard?
No.
Too far.
I mean, you can, but you have to buy him dinner.
That's interesting. Okay, so
Okay.
you actually can't stealth while you have that thing.
See
That's
this
fine.
yellow circle? I'm bringing it to Toth. I dropped the yellow circle by Toth. I have the fearful debuff, and I have dots up, so I'm gonna die. It's fine, it's no big deal. Feels bad, man, but
It's a tip for that. Stick to the wall.
Yeah, exactly.
Next to top.
see red circles go up here. Red circles there. See how Spliz, our mercenary, moves. See how he's moving out
If you stick to the wall to the next
like
top,
that.
you won't get it.
Also,
If you
hi
move
Sentry and hey
so far enough.
Halsey. I'm gonna just go ahead and move this.
Yeah,
Everyone
exactly.
on,
You gotta stick to
everyone
the
on
wall.
Zorn, stop on top.
So as you can hear by the communication, yeah, pretty much. If you are running dots and you do get the fearful debuff, you're pretty much gonna die.
Round 2.
Fight.
Good job, Tom.
This is
Well, there's no
just,
more
you know,
fearful, so we good.
This is just show off how an operative can be a really big cheese in operations.
This is true.
But it's more of a pain in lethality. I have to wait for dots to, like, you know, turn off.
Oh, first world problems.
Alright.
See,
Stop.
the fearful debuff went off, but because I am not within range, I didn't get hit with it again.
You can't win! The Masters won't allow it!
See, red circle. I've just gone ahead and moved out of it.
Zorn! You'll pay!
Alright, and since we DPS them relatively evenly, now we have Handler Murdoch dropping. So again, you just want to, if you are a ranged DPS, you want to just kind of move around. He is just primarily a tank and spank. He does have a death from above ability that does kind of hit like a truck. So you just want to avoid that. Again, the whole if it's red, you're dead.
And
can
in
be interrupted.
hard mode,
He
it's
can
all
be interrupted.
interruptible. In Nightmare,
Nightmare, not so much. And then there you go. That is Zorn and Toth.
Where are my components?
I don't know. Where are your components? Ice Scrabbler Jerky, the biggest.
Kephess hard on the main front. Maybe you can find an alternate route to his camp through the
My
mines.
DPS, 2 stealth reses ruins it.
I'm so sorry, dear. So, and now we are moving on to everybody's favorite fight, the tanks.
I dropped threat like a little bit earlier. I don't know how I pulled there. Sorry.
It's okay. Yeah, let's go ahead and get let's get guards on Splizza and on Audria, please.
Why am I gonna pull anything? I stealth.
That's true. Okay.
Let's get aggro. You guys had already swapped, had you not? Weren't there like already a couple of swaps?
No.
Makes no sense. I think there was.
How do you
The
know?
first set of deaths was on the very first jump.
Oh, okay.
Something to mention for the previous fight, since it wasn't clearly stated, if you kill one of Zorn or Toth, significantly earlier than the other, the remaining one enrages.
Immediately.
So,
Which is why you want to try and DPS them down as evenly as possible. So as you saw, the melee stopped when Toth was at 5%. They stopped all dots. They stopped... No?
Wrong. 6%.
6%? 9? So 10 to 6%.
6% is what you don't want to push beyond.
Yeah, so you want to stop
You
between
make him
6%.
jump the last time, so at 10%, and you want to not touch him below 6, because as soon as he hits 6, he starts smashing the ground continuously, and that just does a lot of damage.
Okay, thank you very much. I play range, so I that's why I've got you guys here. But then they swapped from Toth to Zorn, and once Zorn had died, we just quickly killed Toth, and there was no shenanigans that popped up. All right, so for this particular Drook right here, he's a little bit special. He is going to basically he's going to vacuum everybody up, pull everybody into his reticle, and then he's going to do a knockback. See how I got pulled? He still says jump, and then people get knocked back. So if you have things like hydraulic overrides, entrench, what is the Sork talent that the Sork talent for Phase Walk?
This is also why you tank this guy on the log.
Yep, you tank this guy here. You do not tank him on this log.
Definitely not.
Why are we explaining the fights? Because this is a instructional. These are I know this op has been out since forever, but we're doing updated video guides for people who are interested into joining raids. Intro to operations indeed. So most people just take this line of moving around the trash here. As you can see, there's a couple of other... they're hidden right now, it looks like. I think they have...
because nobody needs that chest.
Nobody needs that chest. It used to be the big deal back in, what was it, 1.0?
But now it's...
Now it's
inflation
just
has rendered its credit drop irrelevant.
Exactly.
Well, and also they nerfed the hell out of all the credit drops from all the chests.
That is true. And yes, I do click.
Not just in here, but in all of the, especially like the mini bosses in Scum.
Oh, the mini boss in Scum and Villainy.
That people used to kill and now nobody does.
No, gosh, yeah.
Do that all the time in my group.
That reminds me of like the Bill Gates complex. Like walking down the street, if he saw 10 grand, it would literally not be worth his time to bend over and pick it up.
Yep. I don't know. I think this is a fantastic entrance. It was pretty badass when I first saw it. Yes, Zinnier, that little dinky-ass pistol is going to be good against these tanks. It's the one-shot pistol for agents, isn't it?
That's
All
what
right.
they have on dev servers.
It's the one-shot pistol. The golden gun, yes. All right, these are the tanks. This is definitely considered a pug stopper, both in hard mode and in Nightmare. So they are Firebrand and Stormcaller. Let's talk a little bit about the differences between the two tanks. So Firebrand and Stormcaller. So Firebrand does a lot of fire damage, correct?
It's missiles.
Missiles. It's the execution pistol. I love it. And Stormcaller does a ability called Double Destruction, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. That is lightning based, so I think it's very apt. Again, let's start with healers. Wonder. Talk to me a little bit about Sork Sage healers on this fight. What are they? What do they need in order to be successful?
So, most of the time the Merc is the one kiting, so you'll most of the time be on the Stormcaller tank, and you really want to make sure that you're bubbling like both as nearly to 100% as possible, because they're going to be taking most of the damage.
Okay, so yeah, as you can see, we've placed 2 markers down. So this is where the Merc or the kiting healers, there's going to be spires that drop from Stormcaller that are going to have an electric bubble that deal damage to anybody that's within range of the bubble. So you have a healer, and in this case it's going to be our Merc that's going to be kiting around the edge, so that's why you're on the ground. Everyone else are going to be on the edges of the tanks, as you can see by this marker here. That is actually on the tank. So if you are the Sork or the operative healer, you're going to be on the tank. If you are kiting, then you are going to be on the ground. So is there anything else aside from bubbling that Sorks and Sages should think about?
There's the double destruction that sometimes you will have to take, but most of the time you want to stand a little bit behind the DPS so the DPS get the double destruction.
Okay, so you don't really need to take the double destruction from Stormcaller if you are not kiting, so usually you want to kind of take a step back and not take that debuff. Correct?
Yep.
Awesome. Alright, Kruvy, unless you're a 3 melee, right. Kruvy, talk to me a little bit about being the kiting healer.
Okay, so this is pretty much my favorite thing to do outside of like healing, because I actually get to do a mechanic. If you can remove those markers real quick. So, for being a Merc, there's this little thing called Reflect. I'm going to talk about it a lot. At the beginning of the fight, there's going to be a lot of red AoEs going out. Just make sure you don't step in them. It's pretty simple. But the pattern for kiting spires is going to be the blue circle that's going to go out. You're going to place it right here, right next to that tank. And your melee DPS, such as a Jug, want to have a Merc over there. I don't know why you would, but sometimes there's a Merc over there. If you're crazy as hell like a PT and you want to try to rebound rip, you can, but it is reflectable. I can reflect it, they can reflect it, it's awesome. But if you're going to go ahead and try to wait out your entire reflect, you're going to have the second part of kiting come out, which is the second part of the mechanic. There's going to be a yellow, like, pretty much like a beacon on your forehead. And if that entire, like, cast goes out, like that channel from Stormcaller goes out, and it hits you, you're more than likely going to die. Or you're going to be at very, very, very low health, at least on Nim. I'm not sure how hard it hits on hard mode, since I haven't done this hard mode in a very long time, but it hits pretty damn... It hits pretty damn hard. Like, that's all I remember. But you can target yourself and cleanse it off, and it falls off completely. So try not to like have it near the tank when you cleanse it, because there are times where I've seen people die to it, like, and they're not even under it, but they die to it.
It'll leave a residue on the floor when you cleanse it. So
Yeah.
if someone stands on it, like if you cleanse it, you don't move, it'll still kill you regardless, or hit and not kill.
Yeah. There are times where the DPS is pushed so hard that the next part I'm about to explain may not even come into effect, but you will run, after you cleanse it, you will run directly across, and the second spire that drops will be right there. And you drop it right there, and then your ranged DPS are going to be standing on the inside of Stormcaller. They can reflect. So you'll have your mercs. If Zab wants to go ahead and like play his lightning sword, can try to reflect it a little bit with I'm not sure. Yeah, lightning barrier. He can, if he wants to try that. Like, I don't know if he's crazy enough, but he can. So that's pretty much kiting spires. Usually what I do, like around that time, if the DPS is sort of low, and you have the ads spawning underneath of their shields, just see where the Firebrand, like ads are spawning, like behind the right of Firebrand or in front of Firebrand. And the moment I see that, I'm popping, hydraulic overrides, and I'm running towards it. Or if you're like pro and you wanted to get style points, aim your back towards it and rock it out.
Rock it out.
Get shield as fast as possible. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And then help the other healer here.
Yeah. So kiting, as the healer, kiting is a very big job and requires a bit of practice. But once you learn how to do it, you'll be invaluable for this fight. As he mentioned, there are three sets of so there's ads that pop out during the course of the fight, and there are going to be 3 locations that they can be in. And I'm just giving general positions. So for this fight, for this tank, as you can see by the 3 tank markers that I have set up, usually for Stormcaller, the 3 ads will pop up in one of those 3 locations, and the person who is responsible for callouts will say back, side, front. For Firebrand, it's going to be around here, there, and there. It's possible that this mechanic is only in Nightmare. I don't remember exactly, but we're going to find out. No.
The bomber is Nightmare only.
The bomber is Nightmare only. However, the ads that do phase do come in hard mode as well. So yes, they are literal tanks. So when the ads pop up, you'll hear a call out. You'll hear a call out from one of the tanks. Defenses activated, I think.
Defensive systems is the channel.
Defensive systems. Yes, defensive systems. Then you're going to see a big bubble, big shield that pops up in one of those 3 locations for either of the tanks. Your job is to move your happy little butt into the shield on story mode, in hard mode, and in Nightmare. And we'll cover the Nightmare specific mechanic when we get into Nightmare. So, tanks. Talk to me a little bit about tanking the tanks. Why, so we have it set, so, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the shields, as we actually get to the shields. So, with story mode, the shields are fixed spawns, so we don't have to, you don't have to worry about where it might show up, but in hard mode and in Nightmare, they are not. And you don't want to do any AoEs inside the shield starting in hard mode, because the shield actually has a health bar, and you can kill the shield, and there's only one shield that spawns per time, per phase. So if the shield dies, that's not a good thing. Anyway, let's move on to tanking the tanks. So as you can see, we have our assassin tank on Firebrand, and we have our juggernaut tank on Stormcaller. Guys, talk to me a little bit about why we have it set this way.
Well, mainly, so the main reason why you would want a assassin on Firebrand is because the assassin can cheese the incendiary armor, whatever it's called. So you can, there's a mechanic where it'll do a cast and it'll apply a debuff on a tank or whoever has aggro on it at the moment, and it'll remove all armor, meaning that while it take damage, you'll won't mitigate it. So basically, you can stealth out the channel, let it cast to someone else, and you taunt it back, and then you just keep. With new gear, most of the time you don't actually need to do anything because it dies so fast that the channel, even if you get it, it'll push immediately after, meaning you will take no damage because he doesn't get a chance to attack you. To do the mechanic properly, you do that, and for the next time that you get it, you use deflection because they are range attacks. So use deflection, you don't get hit. There's a really, really, really tiny chance, like 2% chance that you might get hit, but it doesn't normally happen. It's really rare, and you will most likely get one-shotted unless you're low health.
So an assassin's toolkit is better suited towards Firebrand.
Correct. And I don't remember exactly. I haven't tanked Stormcaller in a while, but I don't think his attacks are shieldable. Just like
They are. They're.
I don't remember. But yeah, basically, the Juggernauts will just have better DCDs or in power decks it will have better DCDs for Stormcaller because deflection doesn't do anything. It's why for 50%.
So
they're just better suited to deal with the mechanics from Firebrand, meaning that you don't need anyone taunting off or doing tank swaps, which is
okay. So it's So the Assassin / Shadows toolkit is better suited towards the Firebrand mechanics of the Incinerate armor, whereas the other two tanks, Power Techs and Vanguards, and then Juggernauts and Guardians, are better suited, have better toolkits for Stormcaller. Now, Stormcaller does an ability called Double Destruction. Reflect, by the way, is the best thing for Stormcaller. So Double Destruction is an ability where the two cannons on Stormcaller here and here are going to light up. It's going to be a cast. It's going to be a cast time. There's going to be a line that focuses on the tank, and then the tank is going to move to the DPS on the Stormcaller tank, which is going to be the range. The range are going to, what is the word for it? They share the debuff because otherwise the Double Destruction will one-shot your tank, which is not good at all. So Kagi, talk to me a little bit about tanking Stormcaller.
So Stormcaller, the tank is going to be on one side of the boss. It's usually the right side from where we're at facing it. And the DPS and healer will be on the left side. As soon as he starts casting Double Destruction, the tank will go run over behind the DPS and the healers so that they take Double Destruction. As soon as that cast is over, the tank goes back to the right side because Stormcaller will cast a AoE attack, and if anybody with the Double Destruction debuff has that, they will get one-shotted.
Exactly. So, and Jugs have a fantastic tool set with Enrage Defense, with Reflect especially. So Jug tanks will want to take the increased duration of Saber Reflect talent. One of the other big things for tanks to do, as we had talked about earlier, there's a healer is responsible for kiting the spires during the first portion, during the actual fight, but during the ad phase, there's the tank. One of the tanks is responsible for kiting spires during the ad phase. So for today, we have usually you want your Stormcaller tank, so that's going to be Kagi, is going to be kiting the spires. So he's going to take a pattern that kind of he doesn't want to get out of range of the healers, and healers definitely need to be more aware. Definitely need to be aware of the tank that's kiting the spires. Usually the kiting goes kind of far away from the group, especially depending on where the ads have dropped. But typically they stay more towards the Stormcaller area unless otherwise needed. And I'll keep an eye, and I will show you guys. I'll be focusing on Kagi and Kruby, so you guys can watch a little bit about how they kite during the ad phases and the non-ad phases. Yeah, so going into the ad phase with the bubbles, you will know who is kiting the spires by whom Stormcaller has aggro on. So if it's a DPS, like let's say I pull aggro off the tank because the tank's died, one reason or another, I'm going to be responsible for kiting the spires. So you just need to be, as a team, you need to be aware of what's going on. But typically you want your tank to do it because otherwise they take a whole bunch of damage, and the DPS really won't stand up to that. For DPS, we're gonna so as we have shown out, we have things separated once again by ranged and melee. However, just because we are on Stormcaller doesn't mean we're going to be DPSing Stormcaller. We're actually going to be DPSing Firebrand. It's very similar to how we DPS down Zorn and Toth. We're going to focus down Firebrand, primarily due to the Incinerate armor. We want to just get him down as fast as possible. And then, in Nightmare, the double destruction is faster on Nightmare, so you want to... so that's typically the reason where most people just focus. Yeah, the debuff lasts longer, so it's just the strategy that people have adopted for hard mode and for story mode. However, it is more... it's more necessary for... Yeah, you want to push your defensive systems as quickly as possible, which is why you focus on Firebrand. But if your team's not that worried about it, or you're not doing Nightmare, then you can just DPS them down evenly, which was the original strategy. As ranged, we're going to be standing... Ooh, gotta make sure I don't pull on accident. We're going to be standing there. So that way, when the tank needs to go on to... Whenever the tank needs to do double destruction, all the tank has to do is just move over to where we are, and then it moves back. So... pretty stationary. We're going to go ahead and pull unless anybody has any specific tips or tricks for different classes.
I will say one thing when you're standing on the tank and defensive systems is going out, one of the things you can do to, maximize uptime, you can actually just position yourself so that so that you get knocked back to the shield with the adds. So at the end of the defensive systems cast, the tanks do a knockback. So if you're standing on the correct side of the tank with the adds, so like if the adds were here, in the front of Firebrand, and I was standing here once the cast started, do not move before the cast starts, because then you're going to get cleaved. But once the cast starts, I would stand right there, continue hitting the tank, and then I would just get knocked back when the channel's done, and I'd end up pretty much in the shield. So then I don't lose any uptime, and I don't have to use a leap to get to it, and I have it to get back instead. It's nice.
Yep, so tanks are very much a situational awareness fight. And that'll be something that comes with practice. You'll learn where the shields spawn in hard mode and Nightmare. You'll learn, again, all of these are practice and just muscle memory. But we're going to go ahead and pull. As a sniper or a gunslinger, I am actually going to put my orbital strike on Firebrand before I run over, and it's imperative for anybody who is not kiting the spires. So if you are not the healer kiting, you need to get on the tank as soon as possible. That is the big thing. So, Zab, you ready, hon? Guess not. Okay. So, does anybody else have any tips, tricks, anything that people should be aware of before we go in? As a sniper, I'm once again going to play the dot spec. So I'm going to be playing Virulence. If I really want to fluff my numbers, I'm going to double dot, but I'm not totally worried about that at this moment. But, if you want style points, you can double dot, and that goes for pretty much any dots class. But I'm not a number fluffer. I'm a threat fluffer, but I'm not a number fluffer.
Yeah, Commander brings up a good point. The healer who's on Stormcaller is responsible for reses most of the time, because resing while kiting, you could res someone into a spike, into an AoE of some sort, and they just, die.
Yeah. Couple of other just points. For the ad phases, you're going to have your snipers, your sniper slingers, anybody with a knockback or an AoE knockback. You're going to knock the ads out of the shield, because in hard mode and a Nightmare where the shield has a health meter, you don't want dot spread getting onto the shield, so that's why you have them knocked out of the shields on the range side. So that's going to be primarily myself and Splizza. Yeah, on melee side it's not great, but melee is good. As long as your melee know not to dot spread to the shield, you'll be fine. But for ranged, we're going to knock the ads out of the shield, so that way we don't have to worry about it. All right, on that note, let's see if everybody's back and ready to go. Alrighty then. On the tanks, please. I'm gonna go ahead and cast.
Engaging hostiles for the masters.
So I've dotted him up, but I am getting onto the tank as fast as possible. As you can see, we're all just kind of situated here. So as you can see, Kruby is right there, right on that spire. Double destruction's going down on Stormcaller. See how the tank has moved that? All right, engaging defensive systems. So the ads are over here to the side. There's a knockback. I've knocked those ads out, and I'm just going to go ahead and freely DPS them down now. We will get Splizza up as soon as... So as you can see, the shield disappeared on our side. Which is what happens. Bubble Wonder. Oh, you're good? Alright. So, that's over, and we're going to go ahead and get back on. I'm going to pop a shield. So there's a lot of mechanics, as you can see. Here comes double destruction. Alright, we're going to just go ahead and restart this. Okay.
We all kind of got clipped.
Yeah, there was a little bit of memeage going on here.
I saw fire on Sharkbait.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
AoE taunt was...
Was there an AoE taunt that went out?
Yeah.
So, there's a little bit of what's going on there. Go ahead and just stealth out.
It
Or-
did. It didn't drop.
That's fine. So as you can see, there's a lot of mechanics that even, people, even people who have run this fight so many times over and over again, we still make mistakes. So please don't ever be afraid to make a mistake as long as you learn from it. And if people make fun of you for making mistakes because you're learning, you can tell them to go shove it where the sun don't shine. Nicely. Alrighty then. So please shove it where the sun. Exactly. Exactly. Just add a please to the end of it. So as you can see, we have CC'd this guy, so that way we can just pass through. If you don't have a stealther in your group, you will have to kill those ads. But they're not terribly hard. And once you defeat Stormcaller and Firebrand, the speeder will automatically land you on here, right next to them. So you really don't have to worry about it. Alrighty then.
Did he resist that that dart?
No?
It's all-
So we actually got a Spire because of doing too much DPS.
DPS too strong.
It's a hard mode bug.
It is a hard
mode
mode bug.
Yeah,
I've never seen that in Nightmare.
yeah, and not Nightmare because the DPS it's just
So why don't we,
There are a couple
the
times.
range will stay on Stormcaller and the melee will stay on Firebrand, so that way we even out the DPS a little bit more.
I mean, you got up one DPS.
Yeah, why don't we just why don't you go on, you go on fire
okay.
and I'll go on.
Okay, I'll stay on fire then, and you can go on Stormcaller. Sounds good. So, as you can see, guys, through talking with the team, we have figured out what went wrong, and we have come up with a plan to move forward. Progression! All right, well, as soon as Tom is back in the room, we will go. Should have brought my tank here.
yeah, Aldria. It was a problem for 248s as well.
All right, so on tanks, literally.
Engaging hostiles for the masters.
So I'm still going to sit on Stormcaller to help with double destruction, but I'm still DPSing Firebrand. So as you can see, there's that mechanic, there's the double destruction.
Engaging defensive systems.
Defensive systems, so the ads are going to be in front for Stormcaller. So I'm just, and he does a knockback. I'm going to wait for them to drop the shield, and then I'm going to knock them out. And then I have no problem dot spreading. And for, let's see, where is our lovely Coggy Woggy? And there's Coggy. He is just kiting the spires in between the tanks. So that way they don't hit anyone else. Good job. Alright, looks like they are just about done. So we're going to go ahead and jump back onto the tanks. And then we just rinse and repeat. Yeah, these two bosses are pretty great. Back in the days of 1.0, it's really interesting to see how the difficulty of the mechanics increases starting from Eternity Vault into Explosive Conflict. That was one of my favorite things watching. Okay, so we had a spire that dropped a little too close to the range, so we all just adjusted. Yeah, 1, 2, or 2, 3. Yeah, for sure.
That's intentional.
I know.
Engaging offensive systems.
So, and that's why you don't knock these bad boys out whenever you're on melee. Because otherwise the melee can't reach. Alright, so now we're just waiting for Firebrand to finish the mortar volley. And then we're going to just hop our happy little butts back onto the tanks. I'm actually probably going to be... So I'm noticing, while I'm DPSing Firebrand, I've got Stormcaller in my focus target. So I can keep an eye on whether or not I have to swap to Stormcaller. I will probably actually swap here about now. There's a 20% discrepancy, so I'm going to go ahead and swap to Stormcaller.
That's
right.
actually fine with the way the strat works.
Actually, ideally, it's supposed to be under 70% at least. By the time that we get to get the option. Especially in Nightmare, if he's like too high, if you're doing this strat and he's too high, like over 75,
right,
you are definitely gonna enrage.
And for enraging for the tanks, they do their mortar volley consistently, and it just does a crazy amount of damage. So when we swap over to where everyone is focusing on Stormcaller, the range that were originally on Stormcaller are actually going to swap over to the other side to allow the melee room to come over and stand on the tank.
After this shield with the last one, once Firebrand is under.
Yep.
Engaging defensive systems.
Woo! Groovy, that hurt. So, because I took double destruction, I didn't move out of the spire fast enough. I'm going to take that res as soon as it's over, Wonder. So, do you see how... So, the tank is just running around in through the middle. And just running around, making sure that the spires drop. If he needs to pop a cooldown, he pops one. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and take that res. Woo! Okay, so I'm going...
You don't want to be there.
Nope. Nope, nope, nope. So as you can see, I've swapped over to the other side with the ranged and Wonder. And the melee are on the right side.
And Tom, be careful trying to reflect while you have double destruction because you don't mitigate.
Yeah. So Stormcaller is at 3%. Let's go ahead and swap over to Firebrand.
So what is it? Because the point
That's
to point
gonna
out,
be
this is
unfortunate.
not what you want to happen, so you don't want to kill them like that, or they're
No.
uneven.
Yeah, you want to
in
make
hard
sure that they're
mode,
even.
I guess. Okay, apparently.
This works in Nightmare too. The same
It
thing.
works, it's just not ideally how you want to do it, because...
It ruins your DPS bars because you're gonna have. Why did you knock them out?
But yeah, ideally you want to kill them both at the same time, because this happens, so one of them will... It'll spawn a shield, and then someone will proceed to kill the shield.
Yep.
And basically he will take no damage until the ads are out, I think. Or
Yep.
I don't
No, it's a
remember.
timer. There's a debuff on the thing that
Yep.
just ticks off.
Yep, it looks like telekinetic wave from a sage. So.
Never really noticed. But yeah, ideally to avoid that, because sometimes that can lead to wipes because of many reasons. People getting knocked off the wrong way and not making it to the shield. A lot of things.
Yep.
Wiped like that before.
So yeah, but again. So with the first two bosses of Explosive Conflict, you really want to make sure that you DPS them down as evenly as possible. In all difficulties. But memes happen, but you can still, as you can see, nobody panicked. Nobody panicked. And that's the big thing, is like when you have something that doesn't go according to plan, the biggest thing that you can do as a raider is keep your cool. Like, okay, so this is happening, and knowing your class and knowing the fight is going to be exceedingly helpful for having those really weird situations where it's like, well, I wasn't prepared for that, but we're going to do it anyway. Did we kill Koggy?
It's literally 99% of the rating.
Yep. Keladorn wants to know if we've killed you yet, Koggy.
Yep, they killed me plenty of times, Kat.
Imperial defector camp. Time to make those traitors pay.
So, with this trash, there is a specific thing you want to look out for. They are the Imperial Frontliners. Now, they have an ability right here. There it is. Disappearing Act. It's like a 99% damage reduction. And he does a cast called Shoot First. You don't actually want to interrupt that. Because then...
I get interrupted about a lot of things, but I haven't figured out all the things that make the interrupt.
So you don't actually want to interrupt Shoot First, because then they come out of their stealth, or they come out of the Disappearing Act.
And then they don't have 99% reduced damage anymore. So
Exactly!
Also, you want to interrupt the...
Bombardiers.
Bombers.
So this guy up ahead of us, defected Imperial Bombardier, you definitely want to interrupt.
Are the guys that normally will cause wipes.
Yep. Just lots of damage that goes out.
That hurts a lot, and that...
I have seen so many wipes just in this field alone.
Try and draw Kephess far away from your position.
Bro.
Also, fun fact, if you somehow find your way up over on top of the minefield, you will die. Do we have anyone to volunteer to be the guinea pig?
There used to be a way to not die, but
yeah, they fixed
unfortunately
it.
they ninja fixed that because lame. You know, there's many bugs in this game I actually want them to fix, and the ones that are fun, they fix.
Like
I will be the guinea pig. Wonder, do you want to show me how it goes? I will be the guinea pig.
I think I can go right here. Yeah, so I'm gonna go right here.
All right. I will be the guinea pig.
Whee!
There you go. Yes, it just does instantly kill you now.
Oh, you get orbital strike.
You get orbital strike for like 99 times your damage.
No, it's instant kill target 0 damage. You can't mitigate it.
Little known fact, back in 2.0 when operatives actually had orbital, that's how much it hit for. It was an insta kill.
Oh, I miss
Fun
orbital.
fact, if you stuck it before it hits you, it won't kill you.
Yes, you're actually correct.
Can't kill you if you're already dead.
Thinking intensifies.
Yikes.
So the key is to be an undead?
This isn't WoW. We don't have one.
Just use a Phoenix down on them.
So do you see how much this fire damage is ticking for me? It done does hurt.
Imagine one of the healers AFKs and we have to solo heal this fire.
Sounds like you're talking from experience.
Definitely.
Yep.
Hey, Keladorn! Kagi's died again. It's okay, we love you, Kagi.
I know.
You want to do puzzle, they want me to do it.
The defectors were equipped with heavy explosives. Probably planted landmines around the whole area.
Actually, I want to do it. I'm lazy.
Okay. Alright. Minefield. I love Minefield.
Oh, and this is hard mode Minefield, so it's the meme RNG version.
This one's actually harder than the
Yep.
Nightmare one.
Yep. Okay, so you do not want to go past this red gate, because as soon as you go through the red gate, and the encounter begins. So as you can see, there's this tower right here. Yes, bless RNG indeed. I'm gonna try and get a little bit of an aerial view. So as you can see, there's this big pit here, and it's going to, and then you see where this tank marker is. There's this little console where a button that you would, so you're gonna designate someone, and it's usually a tank, to do the puzzle. And what you want to do is you want to get a solid line of green from one end to the other end. But that requires diffusing bombs. Alright, Zab, talk to me a little bit about the puzzle.
Alright, well, this is mostly just a meme fight for Kazuri's. So once, we will need one person designated doing the puzzle, so you see this, like, tower in front of us. Someone has to take that elevator, go up there, and there'll be an ad there, you can ignore it. And just do the puzzles, there's a panel there. You have to click the little circles, and there will be green or red. Green is the ones that people can send on, red are the ones that you cannot send. So basically, you just click them, the ones to the left, because we were gonna be taking the left wall. Just because to avoid accidents, and in Nightmare you have to do it that way, so just do it that way to get used to it. Basically, you just click on the left one until from bottom to top, and until you find a red one. Once you find a red one, you just click the little it's like a little console thingy on the side. You click that, and it'll take you under you. It'll make you like a hologram, and you will have like a scanner thing. You gotta go around and find a droid. I think it's a mining droid. I don't remember what it's called.
Probe droid.
Probe droid, yeah. But yeah, you just gotta find one, and you just like wiggle the thing, and then it'll like spawn it, and then your people who are doing the puzzle down there, they will just kill it. And you want me to explain the interrupts and all that?
We'll explain the interrupts.
Alright, so basically once you kill it, it'll put, you want me to explain how to use the thing too?
Just focus on the puzzle and how do you know when to turn from red to yellow and from yellow to green?
Okay, so once the droid dies, it'll give someone a kit. Basically, once it's dead, you want to click on a red circle on the console, and then it'll turn it orange, and it'll give you 15 seconds to use the kit to make that a green one. Basically, you just gotta do that 4, maybe 5 times, depending on your RNG, and you just gotta do that until the whole group gets to the other side. Once everyone gets to the other side, that does like a generator that the people on the other side can click, and it'll make all the puzzle green for the person.
It'll automatically solve the rest of the puzzle.
Unless things happen where one of the tiles stays red, and then you gotta die.
So this is probably my favorite puzzle boss in all of the Star Wars raids. So I'm just gonna reiterate one more time. As the person who is in charge of the puzzle, your job is to basically play match 'em. You're gonna it's red light, green light. You're gonna click. the goal is to get a straight line, because fastest way from point A to point B is a straight line. We're going to try and get a straight line against the wall, but in hard mode and in story mode, that doesn't always happen. Hard mode is actually harder because it doesn't have a set pattern. Yes, red light, green light is stressful. So you're going to click in a pattern, and there is going to be like a GCD before you can click another of one of these little panels. If it's red, you're gonna hit this little. If it's red and in the pathway that you're going down, you're gonna click this panel. You're gonna have a holographic portion of you drop down into the minefield, and you're gonna have like this big spotlight. And the spotlight's gonna turn around until you have to turn around until you find the invisible probe droid. Then the ground team is gonna DPS down that droid. The person who gets the last hit or the killing blow on the probe droid is going to get a defusal kit. And then your job as the puzzle maestro is to turn that red tile into a yellow tile, which means the person with the defusal kit can cross safely into that tile and turn it from red or turn it from yellow to green. If anybody besides the person with the defusal kit steps into that panel, they're dead. So it is pretty funny watching people go exploding over the side. It's pretty great. For the rest of the team, we are going to stand here first. There's going to be fire that pops up so you can't go back once you start moving into the field. I always thought it was killing blow, but I could be wrong. And then once the game begins, then we start moving forward. But the tank who is in charge of the panel, those are the ones that set the pace. However, you can run out of time. This is a bomb. This is a minefield after all. So if you take too long to DPS down the droid, if you don't, defuse the bomb fast enough, you can wipe and have to start over. So people are saying it's actually the closest under the droid. That's entirely possible. Cue rush hour bomb choke, indeed. Now, for everyone down on the ground, so the ground team, what we have to be worried about is the probe droid. There's also going to be ads that spawn, including bomber droids. Us ranged are going to be in charge of taking down the bomber droids. But we are going to hopefully stack against the wall because the probe droid has a knockback. Thank you, Tom. The probe droid has a knockback. It's cleave. There's two casts that the probe droid does: cleave and overload. Cleave does exactly what it says, and overload does exactly what it says. We are going to be in charge of interrupting overload. Correct?
Yes.
Overload, because that is the knockback. Cleave, you just typically heal through it. It hits kind of hard in hard mode. Hits harder in Nightmare, but if you have you have to keep, because if you step out of the green square, you're gonna die. It's an insta kill. There's no ands, ifs, or buts about it.
Say 360 knockback on hard mode too, so you cannot miss it.
Nope, you cannot miss the knockback. Yeah, you just ignore the cleave in story mode and hard mode unless your healers are struggling. If you have hydraulic overrides, shroud, force speed. Force speed doesn't avoid the knockback though; it avoids the damage for cleave. For assassins and shadows, hunker down, entrench, hydraulic overrides, hold the line. Those are okay to help avoid the knockback, but if you do not have any of those, then you just have to be aware. And again, positional awareness. I think that's the right word. Does anybody else have any other tips for Minefield for any role?
Cleanses.
Cleanses. Yes, talk to me a little bit about cleanses.
2 debuffs go out on the DPS. If you're familiar with Engineering Sniper, they're called Explosive Probe and Interrogation Probe. One's yellow, one's red and orange. You want to cleanse the Explosive Probe, which is the red and orange one, because it just puts out a lot of damage, and it can also... It puts out a lot of damage on the target and like minor AoE damage to anyone who's around them. I'm unsure also if it knocks them back, like blows them up.
So.
It's been a long
The mine
time.
doesn't. It's just damage.
Okay. And interrogation probe is it's a dot on the target. Most of the time, you don't really even have to cleanse it because healing this fight is. Most of the time it's one healer is DPSing while the other healer is healing because there's not much damage going out. But if your group is struggling with heals and both healers are having to heal, cleansing the dot and cleansing explosive probe will mitigate a portion of the damage that's going out.
And just by the way, this is a 2-phase fight. First phase is going to be the mine, and then the second phase, as you can see, there's a ship right here. That's Colonel Vorgath. That's going to be second phase. Basically, he's just a tank and spank. However, there are going to be four turrets that appear onto his side. So you just typically want to line of sight them. So ranged and healers are going to be back more towards the door, the entrance of the cave, just to avoid the pew-pews. And then there's going to be a big red circle that Colonel Vorgath does, and it looks like the sticky grenade from Troopers. Once again, if you have anything that mitigates, knockbacks, knockdowns, any of that sort, hunker down. Entrench, hydros, 4-speed. That's when you would use it. I'll talk to you guys a little bit more about that when we are actually doing the Colonel Vorgath phase. Anyone else got anything advice-wise for this fight? Other than that, we are going to ready check this bad boy up.
$30-minute AFK break.
30-minute AFK break. All right. No, Kagi, you are down below.
And going.
All right, here we go.
Colonel Vorgath is leading the Imperial troops.
See, there are the droids. There's the turret console. All right, first one is good. We are going to go ahead and get in here. See how this is red. We're not going to touch it. See, there's a little holographic Zab right there. And there's the probe droid. So we're going to go ahead and put our backs to the wall here.
While the group is killing the probe droid, you could just keep revealing more time.
Yep.
Yikes. You alright, Alder?
We're going to get 5 droids. There's the overload.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
RNG was not with us today.
All right, so Kruby got the diffuser kit. See how he's turned this bit's turned from red to
Quick story mode note. Multiple people get the diffusal kit, and the diffusal kit lasts long enough to diffuse multiple mines.
Thank you very much.
So, yeah,
Yep.
you have a lot more margin.
Right, exactly.
And you don't have to worry about that one guy we all know who gets it and has no idea.
Someone who will just someone else.
You got next? Alright.
Done.
Assassin droids.
Doing a mad dash into the minefield.
Splizza. So while Splizza is the person with the diffusal kit is working on the kit, or working on diffusing the bombs, we're going to take care of the ads. See, and now we just continue on like this. There's the holographic Zab. Probe has been found, and we just rinse repeat. There's the overload that's been interrupted. There are the assassin droids that we're going to take care of. As you can see, I had the interrogation probe that was right here, and it was cleansed immediately. Good job, healers.
Okay,
How
next.
can we speed those?
Done.
So I'm just going to root that droid real quick. Groovy?
This fight can be a variable DPS check depending on your RNG with
Yep.
the minefield.
Zab,
so
the probe is right where I'm standing.
There's multiple.
There's another one. More ahead.
There's multiple.
Okay. Multiple probes. Oh, baby. So as you can see, why we have our backs against the walls in case a knockback goes, a knockback gets missed.
Okay, next.
We don't have to freak out about, going flying into the mine. So we just continue on our merry little way here.
Ignore the assassin turrets.
Spliza?
Reinforcement deploy.
So we have, I know, it's so fun.
Reinforcement deploy.
So unfortunately, we've got one more probe that we have to pick up.
So this particular situation where you have to kill 5 is definitely going to be something where if your group is not very strong on DPS, you're going to have the potential to have the enraged turret, and that's just RNG says, well, sucks to be you.
Yep, and that's something that's the RNG minefield from in hard mode. In Nightmare, it's a set path in Nightmare, isn't it?
No, not always.
Not always.
Sometimes can be variables, but it's a lot more consistent in Nightmare to not suck. Hard mode is like, for me, it's like 50-50 if we have to kill 5.
So see how they're clicking the middle portion of the mine. There you go. Then we're gonna run over here. We're gonna click this to complete the puzzle. And now we're on to phase 2, which is the Colonel Vorgath phase. The healers and the ranged DPS are going to be back here because there's going to be turrets that pop up, and we're basically just line of sighting the turrets. They just cannot reach us. As you can see, there's the red circle that popped up right there. Then there's an explosive round that he does that you just want to make sure you move out of. Again, it's the whole, if it's red, you're dead. So, and don't stand in stupid.
There's also a mechanic, the one you see on Spliza right now. What you want to do is you want to run that into your co-healer, because they really enjoy that.
Because they're probably bored out of their mind.
Yeah, it's true. This is boring as shit. At least this part is.
See, there's the red circle. Snipers can roll it and trench it. Mercs can hydro. Shadows and assassins can force speed it.
Force shroud, that works too.
Force shroud.
You got?
Yep. So see how the turrets aren't actually firing at the ranged DPS? It's because we have line of sight at them. They can't reach us.
They hate us because they ain't us.
Damn straight.
Yeah, Kephess cheaped out on his turrets. He didn't get the extended range package.
Buy high, cry once.
He must have went with a package deal. Shame.
That's funny. Alright, so now that Vorgath is dead, we're just going to take out these turrets, and that is Minefield. I love Minefield. You do actually get a title if you successfully navigate the minefield without dying. It's called Minesweeper. Is it everyone in your raid group can't die? Or is it just you? I think it's just you, isn't it?
I think you have to defuse a bomb and not die. Or kill the boss.
Ah. I love Minefield, though. Minefield is my favorite puzzle boss. And now, Kephess. The meme lord, the edge lord, the one and only. The disappointment of the masters.
The reused content lord.
I don't know.
3 fights with Kephess?
Yep, 3 fights with Kephess. It's EC, TFB, and Dread Fortress.
And just in time. You need to flank Kephess at his camp.
I wouldn't have been surprised if he was the last boss of gods.
That would have been great.
Maybe he's the secret bonus boss.
Yeah.
The secret bonus boss. I can dig it.
The one you want after killing the secret boss.
It's actually Revan. Alright, same thing. Since we have a stealther, we're just going to stealth past. We're just going to move past this trash. It can hurt. One of the... so here, this is a way that most groups get around this trash, because this trash is just kind of a pain in the butt. We're going to hug the cliff wall, as you can see, we're all gonna go to this overlook right over here, as overlooking overlooking the minefield, and we're just going to hug the outside, as I was trying to say, but words are hard, and we're going to just Mario platform, unless you do it like me and get knocked off, because I'm so good at this game.
Someone didn't play Mario.
I am
Yeah,
terrible at
not
Mario.
right,
I am terrible at Mario.
Welcome to the
Yeah.
fight.
Make sure you have a good trajectory on that little ass. That little
Yeah,
ass.
that little ass.
Why'd you take the speeder? We're about to get the other one.
Because I didn't
Oops.
think.
Gotta have star Bronte's abilities all the time.
Yep. I just love the fact that I rolled and clicked the speeder, and I am in combat stance on the speeder. It's pretty great.
Are you T-posing?
Yeah, I am. No, he's like straddling the speeder. This is great.
My favorite is like when you die like in a certain angle and then your body folds in half. So like
Yes!
you're doing like the Exorcist pose backwards.
The backwards exercise. It's like I'm riding a horse into battle. That's correct. I'm Red Dead Redemption on this, you know. I mean, I've got the hat. I've got the cloak. I'm Red Dead
Oh,
Redemption in
God.
this business.
I'm looking at the stream now. That's hilarious.
Isn't this great?
Yeah, I know, it's great.
Space Cowboy don't care.
It's worth you having to jump off the edge just to see that.
That was great. I'm okay with this. I don't mind being a guinea pig. So yeah, if you're not very comfortable with Mario jumping, don't do what I do and just wait until they get the speeder. Because once you clear the trash that's in front of Kephess's door, the speeder will drop you there. So if you don't feel comfortable with doing jumps, I'm normally 99% of the time I'm good with that jump. It's just when I've got stream going that I'm not. And the Trandoshan Cannoneer is no longer CC'd, so I am just going to just throw myself off the cliff.
I'm stuck. One there above me.
And we're just going to wait for the okay that the speeder is done.
Yeah, right after you bowl me. Thank you very much. I'll pay you later.
I'll pay you later. What's up, Splizza? See. Hi, Sarvik. Some call me the Space Cowboy. I've got that song stuck in my head. This is a bad idea. Alright, Kephess.
They call me the gangster of love.
Love. I was hoping somebody was going to finish that for me. Alright, Kephess, the big bad. The meme, the edgelord. This is a multi-stage fight. As you can see, loading into the arena, there are 3 siege droids. That is phase 1. Out of like, how many phases?
I don't know. We don't count them anymore.
We don't count them anymore. Okay. So, we're going to split up the group. So, there's going to be a tank and a healer on this droid. I'm going to go ahead and put a marker down. Tank and a healer on this droid. A tank and a healer on this droid. And then the DPS are going to start on this droid. So what we're going to do is we're going to start on this droid here. We're going to burst it down. There's going to be an interrupt. All right, thank you, Spliz. I will take you up on that for sure. There's going to be a channel or a cast time that we have to interrupt. It's imperative that we interrupt this cast time. I'm trying to remember what the name of it is. Somebody fill me in.
Called cast.
Oh, called cast. Oh, thank you, Zab.
It's like acquiring target?
Acquiring target, I think you're correct. That will give, that stacks, and every time that cast goes through, they're going to take less damage. So it builds their armor, has an armor, a damage reduction. So that's why you want to make sure. I'm sorry, what? And they deal more damage. Yeah, so that's why you want to make sure that we DPS them down as fast as we can. Some small pointers for Juggernauts and Guardians, so for Warriors and Knights, and Power Techs and Vanguards, your charge, your leap is an interrupt. So, as you will probably see later on in the fight as we do, you're probably going, as we go through the fight, you're probably going to see people leaping in during the cast because it's an interrupt. So just a neat little trick there, so you don't have to, if your interrupt's on cooldown and you're a warrior, a knight, or a power tech and a vanguard, you can just charge in and that will get the interrupt. So after calibrating shot, thank you. That's the name of the cast, is calibrating shot. So once we're done with this droid, we're all going to move over to the second droid. So we're going to do kind of like a Triforce kind of kill. There we go. We're going to do a Triforce kind of kill. So we're going to start here, start there. We're going to move to that one. And then the last one is going to be the one closest to the door. Because there is the bomber comes out. There is a Trandoshan bomber that comes out that we're going to need to burst down as quickly as possible. Because that bomb is going to be what disables the walker. So that's phase 2. The person, now it's the killing blow on the bomber here that gets the bomb. There's going to be, when you're targeting the walker, there's a small red reticule on the ground. That is where you're going to want, if you have the bomb, you're going to want to stand inside that reticule, because then you're going to launch up like episode 5 with the walkers there. If you have a Sork or a Sage or an Extricate, the people who are you take a massive amount of damage when you're underneath the walker, so that's why people don't want to be underneath it. So people who have the bomb will be taking a lot of damage. Shield probe, force shroud, deflections, any DCD that you can, and correct me if I'm wrong in the deflection. But what you want to do...
Deflection doesn't mitigate. It's mutually exclusive with Shroud. If Shroud mitigates something, deflection is useless. If
vice
deflection
versa
mitigates something, Shroud is useless.
Thank you very much. So, but if you have an Extricate or a pull from a Sork or a Sage, definitely want to try and get that out on the bomb carrier as soon as you see the animation of them grappling up to the top of the walker. Then the walker is going to collapse, and that's going to be a free DPS, because as you can see, the War Machine, he deals, he is immune to normal attacks while fully functional, which is why we have to take the bomb and disable it for a brief amount of time. So for the first phase, we're going to pop everything. We're going to pop raid buffs, we're going to pop adrenals. So you want to pop all of your offensive abilities right on that first disabling shot, so that way we can get as much damage done as possible. I think we want to get him underneath 70% in the first phase.
Hardmode is probably gonna be like 50, but
it's probably gonna be like 50, but you wanna make sure that you get it at least underneath 70% in Hardmode and in Nightmare. Then phase 3 comes up. The walker is going to become fully functional again, and 2 droids are going to spawn here and here.
Skip the fire with a shield.
Oh yeah, add shield. That's right. You're right. Correct. I got my phases mixed up. Sorry. Phase 3 is actually going to be an add phase, where there's going to be everybody's favorite. This will wipe your group. I have seen so many groups wipe to this mechanic. So, Trandoshan warriors and trench cutters. There's going to be a group of it's just like a handful, so about 10 adds that pop up, and there's going to be one that has a big purple shield. It's a warrior. If you are outside of the shield, it will reflect everything. So, you can't, while the shield is up, while the Trandoshan warrior is alive, you cannot touch the trench cutters. So you have to kill the warrior first. In hard mode and in story mode, there's 1. In Nightmare, there is 2. There are some cheeses available. Yes, there are some cheeses available with Juggernauts and Guardians, and then Mercs and Commandos, except the warrior. Exactly. So Mercs can go in and reflect and do an AoE, such as like Death from Above, and that pretty much just takes care of that for you. Same with Juggernauts and Guardians. You can run in, reflect, and do like a smash or any other AoE ability, and the reflect will bounce that. And power attacks too. So the rebounders,
What?
right? Right? Am I right?
I think rebounder works for that.
Hey,
No.
Bishop, welcome. Rebounders doesn't work. Okay, thank you. So just Mercs and Commandos, and then Juggernauts and Warriors. So that's going to happen 3 times. It's going to appear here, here, and here. One strat that you can do is you can have one tank on the Warriors and then the other tank separates the Trandoshan Trench Cutters. And what a lot of people do in Nightmare is that they'll have the ranged DPS stand over here, and then the other tank will bring the Trench Cutters over for AoEing down over where the DPS marker is. That is a very viable strategy as well, especially if you're heavy ranged.
Another thing is there's only one warrior in hard mode.
Yeah, there's only one
There's
warrior in
2
hard mode.
warriors on that.
Yeah, there's 2 warriors in Nightmare, and there's 1 warrior in hard mode. So that's more of a Nightmare strat, which we'll talk about more when we do Nightmare after this. Okay, so, and then after the Trandoshan Cutters, the Trench Cutters and the Warriors, after that phase is over, there's going to be another Bomber. However, he doesn't come out of the door. It depends on... words are hard. He can come out of one of several doors. This door, that door, or this door. So you have to be aware and notice where, you have to notice where he's coming out, and then you have to get there. People can pull him, push him, so just be aware. But it's imperative that we DPS down the bomber as fast as possible. Once again, we're going to do the same thing. Person with the bomb goes underneath the walker, disables the bomb. We DPS down the walker. We want it on the second burn. We want to get it to below, I would say 30% on second burn, right?
On Nightmare, it's around 50 to 45.
50 to 45. Okay, so for hard mode, around 30% usually is a good indicator of where you're at. And then we're going to get to, so this is phase 5. That's when we're going to have the droids, which I so conveniently skipped to earlier. So you're going to have 2 droids, and you have to stack on top of the droid. You're going to have one of your tanks stand out because he does an AoE ability. The droids do an AoE ability. Is it the droids or is it the walker that does the ability that requires you to stand out? Anyone?
That's my range. So if you're standing outside, there's
the droids.
Basically,
It is the droids, yes. So there's a big, just pulsing AoE that will do massive amounts of damage to your group. So you have to have one person standing out. Usually it's a tank, but Reflect also works on it, and so does Rebounders. Power checks, OP. So, and then we're going to DPS down this droid for a little bit, and then there's going to be a big message that flashes on the screen. He's getting ready to change his ion fluctuation, whatever. There's going to be a big purple circle that appears under the droid that we are not on, or that we have to swap off of, and then we're going to jump to the other one, and we're going to do that until both the droids are dead. Excuse me. Same thing, one person has to stand out at all times. Then we get another bomber phase. But this phase, however, at this point, this is when Kephess himself drops. Kephess hits like a tank. He hits super hard. And we're going to talk a little bit more. We're going to go more in depth with tanks and healers and what how to survive Kephess in a little bit. So we're going to so Kephess is going to drop. We're going to DPS him down a little bit, but then there's going to be another bomber spawn. DPS have to immediately jump onto the bomber, kill the bomber. Once more, do the walker phase again. The walker should be dead at this point. Usually at this, on the 3rd walker burn, adrenals will be up. Depending on how long it takes, sometimes your raid buffs are up. If not, at least adrenals will be up, so you're going to want a 2nd adrenal on the 3rd walker burn. It should die by the 3rd burn.
On Nightmare, it'll be another bomber.
Yeah, right. I'm talking hard mode and story mode. We're going to talk about Nightmare specific when we do Nightmare in a minute. So in hard mode and story mode, you really want no more than 3. In hard mode, getting 4 usually means that you're going to deal with an enraged Kephess, and That's not fun. And Rage Kephess is no bueno. So once the walker has been destroyed, we're going to focus solely on Kephess. This is phase 7. So phase 7, Kephess. So we're going to DPS Kephess down until 60%. Kephess during that 100% to 60% is going to leap up into the air. There's going to be a red circle that's going to indicate where he is jumping. Definitely don't want to stand in that red circle. You will die. It will kill you. At 59%, he's going to pull the group towards him and do something called, I think it's called, is it Breath of the Masters or Power of the Masters?
Gift.
Gift of the Masters. Gift of the Masters. Huge purple reticule. It's going to do tons of pulsating damage. You want to get out of that as soon as you can. Rocket out. Hydros to avoid it. Entrench is really good. Force speed, phase walk. Anything that you can possibly do to get out of that bad dash. Anything that you can get out of that reticle, you need to get out as soon as possible. Because then he's going to buff himself, and then it's just going to go straight into burn. And then we're going to burn him from 59% to 0. Let's talk a little bit about the tank mechanic for Kephess. Bishop is here. Welcome, Bishop. Happy to have you. If he's in here. But anyway,
He's not.
He's not. All right. Bishop, talk to us a little bit about tanking Kephess.
You never need a cooldown. It's super easy. Tanking Kephess is, I consider it like a 2-part thing. For the first part, that's when the walker's up, and pretty much the entire time for that, I'm just kiting as long as I can. I won't go into stacking yet. So the main thing is there's no need to keep him still because your melee aren't on him. They're on the walker, that sort of thing. So by kiting him, you're not taking those hits. He'll do a leap every, 10, 15 seconds, something like that roots you. Not a big deal though, because there's a very big delay. It's like 2 or 3 seconds delay before he does his next hit. But regardless, that's when you want to kind of, get some distance between you. So I'll use Enrage or I'll Mad Dash out of it, something like that, just to keep it going. And then the second part of tanking Kephess is when the walker's down and all the DPS are on him. You don't want to have him running all over the place because your melee are going to hate you. So for that part, it kind of depends on how fast you burn him to that 58% part, whether or not, how many circles you get. But the tanks are swapping as usual. On the red circle, the actual mechanic is person closest to him when he jumps up and lands in that red circle, he will do this big ass dot that hurts like a bitch. So Juggernauts and Assassins use their Reflect and Shroud respectively to take no damage from both the initial hit and the dot that comes after. It's a longer dot. You won't have either ability for the whole thing, but it's really the first hit and the tick after that you want to be taking no damage from.
And we're talking about Breath of the Master, correct?
No, we're talking about the red circle.
Oh, red circle.
Oh yeah, this is tanking Kephess. So on that, what tends to happen is one tank will take that dot, the one who's been holding him, and then the other tank will swap off after. And to make sure that you're kind of the one doing it, when he lands, there's about a second, then the tank you had him will taunt, make sure they're the one getting the dot, and then they'll swap. That way you don't have intense amounts of damage going out on one tank who's taking a dot, and if they take an unfortunate hit from Kephess or something, it's a lot of damage. So then the other tank will start kiting, rinse and repeat until you get to that 58%. And then once you're at 58, what'll happen is you want to get your back to a wall if you're tanking him, because he'll do a knockback after a bit. And you want to be running, every tank can be running 1 cool per cycle of holding him, since you'll be swapping on
Breath of the Master.
Yeah. He'll knock back the tank who's holding him. They'll get a purple debuff. It's crucial that the other tank does not taunt until the cast has at least started. If you taunt on the knockback, you're going to get the actual purple circles. Your other tank's going to die. So make sure that he does a knockback, the purple debuff goes out, then he does his Breath of the Master's cast, and that's when you swap. The tank who gets it will go out and start cutting the circles, placing them away from the group. Typically about after your second circle is placed, he'll pull you back in. It's pretty crucial that you get out, or at least get the next circle out, away from the group. and that is rinsed and repeated when you're running out of space or you need to move. Typically, the tank who is placing circles will wait for the knockback and the cast, and they'll taunt him to a different spot so that he moves to where the tank wants him to be. The tank takes the circles, has more room to work.
Thank you.
It's a bunch of repeating like that. It's all white damage, so cooldowns like Deflection, Oil Slick, and Saber are your God tiers. If you're worried about Enrage, I'd save those for when you are holding him near Enrage, and then run your other damage reductions or Shield Adrenal cooldowns then.
Thank you. That is excellent and good white damage. I would not have known that. Healers, talk to me a little bit about this fight as a whole. Is there anything in particular that any class of healer needs in order to be successful?
Helping with interrupts for the first phase,
Yep.
with your tank on your side. Usually, they can pretty much get anything aside from first, like interrupt by themselves. Jugs especially, they enjoy doing that. That's pretty much the first phase. Like, just help them. The bombardiers, help kill those. There is a very slight chance that you'll get the grenade, maybe. Probably not, but slight chance. After that, when the walker goes down, help DPS it. Pop raid buffs, help them with that. As a merc, I usually end up getting the first group of ads, like under shield. So what you're going to do is stand underneath the shield and go ahead and pop your safeguards, and then dirt from above. Reflect, then pop Power Surge and go ahead and do a Fusion Missile, or you can Sweeping Blasters. I really don't do Sweeping Blasters, I don't like the animation. And the ads will pretty much kill themselves because of the reflect. Your reflect reflects their reflect, and then it kills them.
It's kind of like a negative cancels out another negative.
Yeah, so basically you safeguards, divide by 0, profit. And then the second merc will do the same thing, kill those, third shield, yeah, move on.
We can, so with our composition, because we have 2 mercs and a juggernaut, we can have the 2 mercs on the first 2 shields, and then we can have the juggernaut reflect the third one.
The robots, like the 2 robots, basically, like, there's really not much for you to do aside from, like, helping the DPS and, like, heal. I've seen some people like go ahead and stand out and take one of the rail shots or whatever the hell they do, like, and reflect that. I don't know why you do that, but I mean, you can. That part, going into the last phase, once again, help kill the bombardier, keep the tanks up. The dot that goes out on the tank, like whenever you see the, I don't know what the hell it's called, the red circle that forms on the ground. Yeah.
When Kephess is down in phase 6.
Yeah, so when he drops, he's gonna, he does that AoE and he drops down. He's gonna throw out that dot. I don't know what it's called, but it hurts like hell, especially on Nim. I'm not sure how hard it hits on hard mode, because once again, I haven't done this in a while. But basically, yeah, just focus on healing the off tank. The walker's gonna be going down again. We'll probably get 3 drops on the walker, because DPS is gonna be an issue. But yeah, just help kill the walker, and then go into burn phase and don't be bad.
One thing, Wonder, you want to talk a little bit about extrications for the bomb carrier?
Just a little bit. Once the bomb carrier goes under the walker, you can extricate them so they take no damage, and bomb will still go off. It's just a little thing that helps.
Yeah, and it's just you have to make sure that you're watching the animation. You have to make sure that the animation goes out first before you pull, because otherwise it won't go off.
Yeah.
We heard from tanks. We heard from healers. Splizza.
Whoa, wait a minute.
Whoa, wait a minute. What?
I didn't go through like the before Kephess tank. I thought we were just talking about.
Okay, talk to me a little bit about before Kephess.
So before Kephess, when you're on the droids, Power Tech and Juggernaut can get every single interrupt that they have. What you should do is just Saber Throw or Rapid Shot or Grapple as your first GCD, and then the second GCD, that's when the interrupt or the cast should be going out. That's when you'll leap, and then you just switch between interrupts and leap interrupt. Make sure you go out and don't rush it, just wait for the timing. So as a tank, those 2 tanks, you can get every single one. As a Sin tank, I believe you get 3 before you need one, so that's by means of interrupts, and then you stealth out during the cast, cancel it for the second one, and then you interrupt the third. And then like the little bitch sins are, they're gonna need help. So that's when you have a healer or hopefully DPS if they're by then interrupt said droid. Then for the trench cutters and the warrior in Nim, it'll depend on the strat you're doing, but regardless, your main job is to tank warriors and trench cutters. Duh. So what you're gonna do, if you're the warrior tank, you're gonna hold the fucking warrior where they are, and warriors if that's Nightmare, and you're gonna keep them where they spawn. And you want to be guarded if this is your job, due to proximity aggro, some garbage that I don't agree with, but I guess so. So that they go out to, you know, the healers, the ranged DPS, wherever they are. They tend to go on the other tank. Like, I don't know why that works, but so then that's when they run out to the other tank. What?
100% of the time.
I don't know why it's stupid. If it doesn't go onto the tank who's there, it should go on the melee DPS. It's on proximity. I don't know. So they run to the other tank, and that means that the warriors aren't guarding any trench cutters, and that's why your DPS who are assigned to trench cutters are free to AoE them down. If you're doing Nightmare and you have, you know, 2 melee DPS with you, you know, in the case of if they're an off taunt, so like Jug, PT, and Sin DPS, you kind of coordinate. I'm going to pick up the left warrior, you pick up the right. That's just to make sure the warrior doesn't go running with the trench cutters, to make sure the shield stays away from them as far as possible, and stays that way. But you should be able to tank both using your natural rotation. Make sure you're getting your high threat abilities out. And then as stated, as a Jug tank, you can do a reflect on the trench cutters. I think you can also do it on it. I feel like that's kind of aids though. But as a Jug tank, it's crucial that when you do your reflect, you do it like this. You make sure you have Aegis Assault, you AoE taunt, and I would recommend popping cooldown because trench cutters hurt. And once you're sure that they're all grouped up, and you have your Aegis Assault, go into Crushing Blow, and reflect, smash, and then aim your Sweeping Slash correctly. It's not like Lacerate, you have to aim it. Aim it to hit as many trench cutters as possible to get that reflect off. If you do it correctly and you get your trench cutters, both warriors should die. If not, Crushing Blow and Smash alone will typically kill one warrior, and the other one's like halfway there, so you can single target it down. For the Pulsar droid, the mechanic of that is the person who's furthest out will take the rail shot every 3 seconds or so. And that's white damage, but it can hurt like a bitch if you don't mitigate. So I've seen some tanks will roll a cooldown during. I don't. I'm usually on a Jug or PT. I just face tank it. You can be within, 10 meters comfortably, so you can be doing your 10-meter abilities, which is pretty great for all the tanks to be constantly mitigating that. If you have a sniper or a Mara, they can diversion or obfuscate it to make your life easy. If you are just not doing well, or if you're running a cooldown, you can have the other tank swap with you so that they're the ones who stay out. You go in with the group and take the rail shots as you swap each time. And then I think that's pretty much it. I don't know if y'all want to talk about rebounders separately.
We can talk about rebounders, just rebounders on cooldown, isn't it?
Well,
you have to
the
jump
rebounder
in.
On the pulsar droids, the tank who's standing out has to run and make sure you stay in until he does his thing. You can't just dip in and dip out. It won't often.
Yeah. So if you do have rebounders going in as the tank, the person who is standing out needs to run in. Rebounders need to go out.
FPS.
Yep, kill everyone's FPS.
And then get the hell out.
Get out. Exactly. Awesome. All right, Spliz. Thank you very much, Bishop. I appreciate that. Spliz, let's talk a little bit about just specific things regarding these phases.
Okay, so, well, in the first phase, and throughout the whole fight, really, whenever there's opportunity, for all ranged and all healers, there is a specific spot that you want to be standing. And that's right there. Throughout the whole fight, if you do not have to be standing somewhere else, you want to be standing there. Well, I shouldn't say the whole fight, as long as the walker is alive. The reason for that, and obviously there's phases like the twin droid phase and, certain other things where you have to be standing elsewhere. But for the most part, you want to be standing there because that specific spot is immune to splash damage. And it's pretty specific. You want to be standing right on the dark gray kind of lines intersect on the floor there. You'll be able to see the spot on the stream, I'm sure, but You stand exactly in that spot, and you do not take splash damage, even when the splash damage from the walker is on you. So it's pretty crucial, especially in Nim, to keep it as clean as possible. So that applies to both hard mode and Nim.
And then when you're talking about splash damage, the walker does a carpet bombing. It's going to be a purple outline on the floor that does a lot of damage. You want to make sure that you get out of that.
Like, it's underrated, but that actually causes a lot of
wipes,
a lot of wipes and a lot of problems, and then people are like, oh, what happened? And it's like, oh, well, we were, it's usually coupled with something else, but yeah, it just, what happens is it brings the whole group down, and it pressures the healers, and then the healers are able to catch up from that, but then they fall behind on something else, like there is some spike damage that goes out, so whatever, it's just one of those things where you stay in that place, and it makes the fight, especially in Nim, as easy as possible when you're taking half of your group out of the equation. Obviously, like, if you have an OP or whatever, they've got to be closer to their droid in order to interrupt if they're doing interrupts. But for the most part, everyone should be able to stay there. They have range on everything. Obviously, I know the reflects have been mentioned, but abilities like reflect, well, I actually prefer, personally, just executing the mechanics, focusing down the warriors, then killing the trench cutters, splitting up the groups, maybe guarding the off tank, things like that. Like, I prefer doing the
you prefer doing the mechanics
and not having to rely on like these 3 different classes.
Yeah, and we're going to be doing doing the actual mechanics, but those are some cheese options for people who, just so people can be aware of them.
Right. So they have gone ahead and fixed most of the reflectable, like, I believe when 5.0 first came out, we were able to kind of one-shot the walker.
You had Sin tanks doing 100k DPS.
Oh my gosh.
100k DPS on the walker, and it'll do it one-shot.
One-shotting Cyphers, one-shotting Writhing Horde.
It's a lot better than it is, and like once you've done this a million times, then like fine, you're gonna reflect it, just go faster, farm your components. But I think when you're learning and trying to prog through something, you should probably do it properly.
Agreed.
Okay, so sorry. And other than that, specific things for the Merc in the twin droid phase, the pulse droids rocket out pretty much lines up perfectly. Maybe once it doesn't, but you'll have hydros, so pretty much lines up perfectly to swap from one to the other. Obviously you play whatever spec you want in hard mode, but there's definitely some advantages to playing IO here. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for Merc-specific fight. But,
yeah. Well, this has been quite a long explanation. We're going to go ahead and do a poll. We'll still be doing the call-outs. If there's anything that our experts see during the fight, they'll be talking a little bit about it. But we're going to go ahead and do that nice little ready check.
Kruber, you got the first one.
All right, so we've got the Sin and the Merc over on that droid. We got the Jug and the Sork on this one. All right, whenever we're ready, we're going to go in 3. Aldria, you got the first interrupt?
I already did.
Perfect. Tom?
I thought I was getting the first one, so it's gone.
Okay, as you can see, we have 1 stack of calibrating shot, but it didn't.
It's already dead.
It's already dead. So we're going to move on to the next one.
Very pro.
Very pro. So we're just going to DPS that down. See, there's the carpet bombing that you just definitely don't want to touch. It's bad juju. See how our Juggernaut tank has managed to leap in and interrupt the cast?
One of them.
One of them, but it's okay. There is the bomber. So he's been pulled into the group. We're just going to DPS him down as fast as possible.
Right, so this is another thing I want to mention. So now,
It's on me.
as the bomb is going up, you want to start URIO, you want to start pre-loading dots, same for any other dot class.
Ray buffs, adrenals. Also, I want to point out what our Juggernaut tank did. He interceded to the bomb carrier to help mitigate the damage, which was super pro.
Oh, by the way, real quick, who's getting the first shield? I'll get the first shield. Fuck, I'm already here.
Alright. Alright. So, next is third phase. Here are the trench cutters and the warriors.
Oh, well, you missed.
Okay, or, well, I mean, they were already getting pulled, so I didn't bother.
Alright. So, as you see, we killed the warriors separately, and the trench cutters were pulled off to the side, which allows us to do AoE capabilities.
I'll do warriors with the tank.
Alright.
We only need one.
Yeah.
So, once again, we're separating the trench cutters from the warrior. We're going to AoE them down while the melee take care of the warrior.
They have no health in hard mode.
I know, they're melting. So,
On second thought, it was probably better that, like, I didn't reflect, just to show people how to actually do it properly.
I agree. Good reflect there, Coggy. So our Juggernaut used the reflect cheese for that. Alright, and so here's another door that the bomber came out of. It's on Zanir again. So I'm going to just use Shield Pro, target, there's the reticule. I'm going to jump in there. And I got extricated, which means I take no damage. For snipers and gunslingers, you can, if you are not on the bomb, or if you're not the bomb carrier, you can precast your orbital and dot them up, so that way you can just, so the first tick of orbital hits the walker as it's coming down.
I'll stand out.
Alright, so we're getting ready to go into the droid phase. Damn, this DPS. Alright, so here's the pulse. I know, I was just thinking that. So as you can see, one tank is standing out to take the rail shot. There's more carpet bombing. That sometimes can hit the people on the droid. So you just have to be aware. There's the big purple reticule on the other droid. Reversing their circuits. So we're going to swap over to the other droid here. See, as I just said, the carpet bombing hit right where we were standing, so you just need to make sure that you're avoiding it while still staying on the droid. And then we swap over to the other side. Once again, make sure that you're on the droid. For ranged, we can go ahead and keep hitting the droid. Show-offs.
I'll take Kephess first.
Okay.
Alright, droid is down. Kephess is about to drop. So Kephess drops here. So we're going to DPS him down a little bit. Bomber's out. We're going to swap over to them.
Let's jump.
Thank you so very much for the follow, Thrawn.
If you're a tank, you can taunt the boss. So when he puts a dot, or when he is about to like pick someone, it's like the boss. Oh god, help!
Oh no!
Take the boss.
Alright, see, so adrenals are back up. I'm actually going to save mine for Kephess because the walker is going to die. Hi, Senek. So now that the walker is dead, we're all going to focus on Kephess. So we're going to DPS him down until 59%. There's the jump. Look for the red circle.
If you taunt when he gets to the floor, it'll guarantee that it goes to you.
So at 59%, Kephess is going to do the big pull-in. So for now, I'm just watching. I'm going to stand about 30 meters away, a little bit over 30 meters away. So that way I don't get pulled. And I'm also going to entrench. So I'm going to entrench now. 60%, 59. There's the pull. Wow, that feel when you don't get your takedown proc. So, oh, I rolled the wrong way. So, and then now we're just in burn phase. As a sniper, if you have, Your shield, your ballistic shield here is super good. So like at this point, I would actually roll in at this point and throw down the shield to protect the tanks.
They stanking without ACD.
Breath of the Masters. Usually ray buffs are up by now if you haven't used them for the third Walker burn. And that is Hardmode Explosive Conflict.